the light and divine truth. It's always inside you. I'm here to remind you that you are not what confines you. You travel through time to arrive at this line, and now you are in a vessel designed to invent and define truth. Illusion divides you, but you are the limitless vine through which everything vibes through. And I'm here to remind you that you are God. I'm here to remind you that you are the light and divine truth. It's always inside you, and I'm here to remind you that you are not what confines you. You traveled through time to arrive at this line, and now you are in a vessel designed to invent and define truth. I need only remind you that you are God. I'm here to remind you that you are God. I'm only here to remind you that you are a magical turtle.
Magical turtles?
That's pretty good.
Hey yo, yeah, magical turtles. My name is Zach Winchester, the head chancellor, founder, co-founder, private first class, lieutenant, participant, dude thing of the secret shadow organization known as Zach and What Army. This is Summoning the Nonsense. Vosto is not here today, but there are several other magical turtles who have come to fill his void in a completely non-sexual way, as sexual as that may sound. Today, I would like to talk in-depthly on the subject of drugs. As in, do the drugs, kid. As in, hey, kid, do you want some drugs, kid? You want to, go behind this shed and do some drugs, kid? You're not cool if you don't do the drugs, kid. Drugs. The reason I want to speak about this is there's this festival going on right now in my home city of Detroit, about a half hour from my current coordinates, called the Detroit Electronic Music Festival. They call it like fucking Movement or something these days, but it'll always be Demph and or Tech Fest to those who know stuff. But anyway, this festival is much like, I'll be completely intellectually honest, most electronic music festivals, there's a lot of drugs involved. It's a lot of, there's a lot of people who would they get offended by that, people who are deep into the culture, and be like, it's not about drugs, it's about the music and the players, but everybody's on drugs. It's the truth. There's, almost everybody at these functions are doing the Molly drugs, or the acid drugs, or the research chemicals, that you're supposed to think are acid drugs when you buy them. Anyway, people are doing the drugs. And the womp womps and the do the drugs, kid. It's a drug thing. There's a lot of drugs involved. And I, for the first year, am not at it and trying to battle a thing that is currently referred to as FOMO, the fear of missing out. I'm trying to battle the symptoms of that right now. Because I'm not there, and there's lots of cool, pretty people there having all sorts of fun, and I'm not there, and I feel okay about it. Tonight I'm going to be going to an irrelevant fucking bar in Chesterfield, Michigan. Fucking Chesterfield, Michigan, where I host I host a communist event, an open mic comedy show, where I get drunk and be a loser on stage with usually a small audience. You know what? I feel content about it. That is my station in life, and it's okay. And the cool, fluorescently dressed, pretty people can enjoy their time, and I don't feel any kind of. I feel a little bit of jealousy. I want to be those people. Yesterday it was cold. And one of the things of Demph is that it's well known for is that the four lines dress very, very scantily clad when they go to said event. And it was very cold in Detroit that day, and I have to admit, I felt a bit of the Schadenfreude when I saw the four lines that were very cold with their goosebumps, because pretty girls pretty much own my soul, and throughout the years, they have used this power to destroy it several times, to shatter my dreams, and shaman me through several intense nightmares that ended in the stilettoing of my heart valve. So yeah, I felt a bit of what is referred to in Deutschland as Schadenfreude. Is it pronounced Schadenfreude? I love that word. We don't have a word for that in English for the feeling of happiness that comes from the defeat of one's enemies. Though pretty girls are not my enemies. They've wronged me many times before. So their entire species now is, anyway, that's a whole tangent. But anyway, I'm going to open this up for discussion. Here's what I think about the drugs. Let's get into the drugs. And we're talking about them all. Namely, I'm actually talking about the magical ones, the ones that seem to be like cheat codes for enlightenment. Narcotics and things that make you just feel stuff and speed you up and slow you down. That's kind of a whole other discussion. I'd say that almost everybody would say that those, except for like their practical purpose of, helping with pain and whatnot. I don't really have anything against any drugs. Drugs, to me, drug molecules are cheat codes, methinks. Even the magical seeming ones like DMT and psilocybin, that they seem to have been planted here by the ethereal beings, the extragalactic, extraterrestrial folk, the star people. They put these things here to speed up our evolution. It really seems that way with like DMT and psilocybin that occur, so naturally and do such a ridiculously, evolution boosting thing. I think that drugs are just cheat codes of life, cheat codes of love, cheat codes of happiness, cheat codes of enlightenment, one could say. And I believe that you can beat the game without these things. I believe that these experiences can be accessed without the drug molecules. And I think that this it's all in your brain. It all can be done. Like DMT is when you dream. It's a dream away. It also, they say that you experience that in the moment of death. I feel like I took a massive rip of DMT sometimes when I just have a really good day and there's like a beautiful sunset and it just happens. Although that doesn't happen all the time. And, I don't want to openly endorse that turtles take massive rips of DMT and listen to God Fractal while laying on their back with their eyes closed, which is a song that I kind of designed for you to listen to on drugs. I don't endorse that, but, I myself have used cheat codes before and probably shall again. So I won't tell you not to take a massive rip of the spirit molecule and then lay on your back in a comfortable place with your eyes closed and listen to that song at a high volume. I won't tell you not to do that, although I'll never tell you to do that or try to hint or suggest that you do that in any way. So to open up a discussion, my question is, what's the deal with these drugs? Is there anybody who would say that enlightenment can and should be achieved via psychedelia, or is it best to just stumble upon these truths via living a life? I'm in the silence. I'm in the darkness to the cave. Can your turtle make a noise? Is there any turtles there?
I'm here, Zach.
Hello!
Hi, Zach.
Hello there. So let me rephrase a question here. Is there enlightenment in the psychedelic experience?
I would say enlightenment is in all things for those who seek it.
What if there's a turtle who just wants to use the cheat codes? Like some like
they will become enlightened anyway.
What is enlightenment? Somebody called me that the other day, and I just I feel like at times I sit underneath a Bodhi tree in southeast Michigan, but I sometimes that just seems laughable to suggest that the biological vessel that I currently occupy is in any way enlightened, because I get into some hood rat shit, yo. I don't know. Do they say that? Are they familiar with the concept of hood rat shit in across the pond?
Good rat shit.
Hood rat shit. Like if I were to say I did some hood rat shit the other day, what would you assume about my behaviors?
It was a bit untoward, a bit out of character, or it was just full of shit.
Hood rat shit. Okay, I'll say I did some hood rat shit last weekend when I do the fire staff, the spinning thing. I was at this festival that's completely dedicated to it's called the flow arts, fire arts. When you spin things around that are on fire. And God, I really just have a new appreciation of the flow arts thing because I really understood the philosophy of it now more. Because there's this thing called flow, and you get into flow, and then you just sporadically and automatically, without thought, stumble into beauty. It's awesome. But anyway, I was at this thing, and they had this game where you have to finish a beer while spinning your toy, and throughout the fire spinning community, usually even spinning whilst drunk is really frowned upon. Spinning whilst drinking is like it wouldn't fly like anywhere else. But I was at this festival where pretty much anything goes, and so there's like 20 people all with a beer spinning their flaming toy whilst trying to chug a beer, and I did so with a fifth of whiskey. I didn't finish the fifth of whiskey, but I felt like I was a master of the hood rat arts at that moment when I was tipping back a fifth of whiskey while spinning a flaming staff around. I would say that was some hood rat shit. Yo. Meth is
so good shit. Yeah.
I suppose it's good. To me, it is. The real standard the hood definition of hood rat shit here in America would be like, it became popular from this like 10-year-old kid. I think he was like 10 or 12. He stole his parents' vehicle and was driving around with his friend, and he was like, I likes to do hood rat shit like that with my friends. I mean, the term hood rat has been around forever. It's a synonym for like hoe, which I don't know how popular that is in Europe, but it's ghetto terminology. I live very near to Detroit, so I pick up on a lot of this, and it becomes integral parts of my vocabulary. The doing of hood rat shit. But God, I did some hood rat shit last night. I don't even want to say. I'm so ashamed. And it involved, oh my God. No, I'm actually not going to say it. It was really bad. It involved drugs though. It was bad. It was real bad. Like God is upset with me. My parents would be terribly upset with me. Never mind. Nope. Anyway, drugs. Drugs.
You made a point on DMT and whether or not you could do it with or without drugs. I did it with drugs and convinced myself it was the drugs, and then I've done it without the drugs. You mentioned early on about a good sunset after a good day. Stress can trigger it. Emotions can trigger it. There's loads of ways. It's a bit like, I suppose, unlocking your own combination lock. But once it's unlocked, you can trigger, again, it depends which way you want to look at this. I'd look at it more than the ways I'm going to suggest. Firework just went off. I don't know if you can hear that. One way is that you're triggering hallucinogenic materials inside yourself. You're triggering DMT, which creates an hallucination. Or the other is that you're actually transcending into another realm. I would go on the latter.
Yeah, in multiple realities. The ethereal reality. These are things that only came into my, belief. I don't want to say belief system. These are things that I've only, actively subscribed to within the last year. I met a friend who does angel therapy. She talks to the archangels and relays the information that she hears from them to the magical turtles, who are paying her, so there's always skepticism there. But she did a reading thing for me, and it just became very clear to me that whether or not there's any objective truth to this, the model of angels, I understand that. There's a being of pure love and beauty who just wants you to be happy and just has the highest good in mind for you. And it is telling me now that, I understand that model. And I think anybody can understand that model. An angel just told me to, whatever it is right now in your life that you feel like there is an obstruction, I want you to just barrel past that barrel and then take that barrel and throw it at an Italian who's trying to climb up the ladders to save the princess. Yo. You know, like she does well, but in my friendship with her, she's very much into like the ethereal reality. And now from this realization that there is this other realm that I can participate in, my God, it's opened up so many things. Like I am now a person who I go in the woods sometimes and commune with fairies. And sometimes I actually speak with my vessel mouth, like with my actual word mouth. I use my words. I go in the woods and I use my words to talk to things that, in an objective reality aren't there. But in this ethereal reality, in this other realm that I may have just created with my own little silly nonsense brain, it's very much there. And, and at the very least, it's soliloquy. And I think that talking to oneself is important sometimes, whether or not you actually verbalize. But I do verbalize these days. I go and I speak to all the things. I speak to aliens all the time. I speak to the extragalactic, the interterrestrial and extraterrestrial beings that, I have it in my mind that they've taken an interest in my existence particularly, which obviously, that translates to anybody. That they've taken a particular interest in your existence, friend, and they want to talk to you so bad. And you don't have to use your mouth words to speak to them because they're actually kind of in your brain. But what you said about like accessing the just when you're just feeling incredibly elated, like just having a wonderful day, like that has been happening more and more lately. And that's like with the MDMA, it's commonly referred to as Molly here in America. The MDMA drugs, the serotonin unleashing things, like I feel that sometimes when I'm just driving. Like I'll just feel this, like I am stark raving bat clit in love with the entire enterprise of being in love. Right the fuck meow. And I'm sure of it, and I'm like, my God, this is all happening right now, and I'm on this highway, and I don't necessarily want to be in this fossil fuel vehicle thing doing this transportation stuff. I feel like we could do this a lot more efficiently. Right now, I think that the human enterprise has the ability to make this happen better. But here I am in this car, and there's a smokestack, and there's like Zug Island. There's this like ridiculous industrial island in Detroit that is like just pumping out black and green goo fuck into the air at all times. It's, the 24 hours a day. Just I don't know if you're familiar with the movie Fern Gully, but it's like that smog beast that I don't know how well I'm iterating this right now. I'm doing my best to illustrate what Zug Island does. All fucking day. It's terrible. And I look over at that, and I realize that I'm in the car, and I realize that there are some aspects of my personal life that I could improve upon, but I'm just like, holy shit, I love this whole situation. This is awesome. Anything that seems wrong right now is like everything is always 50-50, darkness, light, positive, negative, whatever the fuck. And the situation that I was born into is fucking awesome. This is cool. This is epic. This is theatrical. It's like a movie, goddammit. You are born into a time period, an epoch right now where you are like given the responsibility to save the fucking world. That's pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. So, yeah. I mean, to the eyes of the objective perceiver, I'm born and alighting on level 12 certifiable madness these days. And I'm getting weirder every day. But in my mind, which I think is all that matters, is what's happening in your mind and your actual perception of what you're up to and what's going on with the world. I've never felt more stone cold sane in my entire life than these days. Now that I talk to the fairies and the angels and the demons, I have a great relationship with the fallen one, the one who knocks the morning star. I've made more strange mouth noises on this episode than anyone prior. So, what do you think about people who have bad trips? Do you think it's always something that is bursting from their own subconscious? Because I don't think psychedelics in themselves are bad or predisposed. Like I used to think salvia, delirium. Is that salvia delirium?
Salvia divinorum, and Tim Leary had comments about this. He said the things you need to take care of were setting and dosage. And if you took care of those three, you wouldn't have a bad trip.
Totally agree.
I had a menacing trip on salvia, and it scared me from ever trying it again. I'm yet to have a good one. I think I did it 3 times. Once I was on the porch with a couple of my friends, and all of their heads like superimposed into this fractal fucking. But it wasn't a fractal. It was endless and it was fractal like, but it was also only vertical, and it was their heads on a totem pole, but not like cut off and on a stick, just attached to each other and growing and all laughing at me in a sinister way, like, oh, you just made your brain retarded for the rest of your life. You're broken now. You smoked a thing that broke you. And so that was a good minute of that. And then I just went upstairs and abandoned my friends and just planted my face in a pillow and just had one of the worst thought tangents of my life. It was like a good 45 minutes before I was responsive again. And then we enjoyed the rest of the evening, but it was terrible. And I took it again in front of, at a house where there was a dude who was being very nice and hospitable. He goes around the corner to go make us food. He's being there's nothing impolite or slightly sinister about this dude. And as soon as he goes around that corner, I'm dead certain when he comes back around, he's going to be holding a knife. He's going to charge us. I'm looking for the best window to jump out of. I'm thinking about what large blunt objects to throw at him. I was fucking terrified, and there was no reason to be. And as soon as I came off of the salvia drugs, I realized that was ridiculous, and that was pretty horrifying. And I told him that I thought he was about to kill me, and he laughed, of course. And then one time I took it in front of, there was 2 pretty girls in my house, and I was just telling them how fucked up this drug was, and how I lose all motor skills and fall over. And then I got the brilliant idea, hey, I'll do it in front of you. You can watch and point and laugh at me. And I did in front of 2 pretty girls that I was trying to impress. I smoked the salvia and drooled and fell over onto one of them. In a bad way, not in a good way, and that was really embarrassing and terrible. And since I have not done it, but I would like to see what kind of good, because there's people who swear by that stuff.
I'll tell you about my first salvia trip, which was utterly terrifying. I was literally sucked out of the known universe. I had absolutely no frame of reference whatsoever. And coming back again, I had to come through this vortex, which squeezed me, obviously, coming through this vortex. But then I got sucked back into this unknown place again. And I knew that the only way back to reality was through this vortex, and I had to go through it. It was terrifying. But it was actually really worth the pains that I went to, because it kind of lifts the veil, I think, on what our perception of what reality actually is. And I've done it again since. That was my first salvia trip, and I've done it again since. So, but definitely a shamanic type experience. I mean, do it with respect, and definitely do it when there are people around you that know what you're doing, that aren't doing it at the same time, okay?
Ground control.
Ground control, yeah.
This is ground control to Major Tom. You just took a massive bong rip of salvia, and you're floating through a multi-dimensional nightmare hex, and the world looks awfully terrifying today.
I actually think you...
nightmare.
I think you see your true reality when you take these things, and then your consciousness reassembles something into a manageable state for you to bear. So yeah, I don't think you're having a nightmare when you take salvia. I think we're all living in a nightmare. If you look at the Aborigine ancestral stuff and the Dreamtime stuff, the Westerners, the white men, the white women and so forth, or Western society they dreamed us up. We are their nightmare. Of course it sounds quite dark and scary, but of course it isn't. It isn't. People like yourself, Zach, and many others have been able to like grasp onto that and see the sheer beauty that's contained within it. So yeah, I think we're all in our own unique ways turning this nightmare into a dream beyond any of us imagination. I really do. I think that's what occurs. I've done salvia. I've just done it the once because I hadn't done it. I did consider doing DMT. I had a word with a guy who's done quite a bit, and he went, "You're kidding? You've not done DMT?" And I went, "No." And he was like, "You don't need to." He said, "You are DMT," and I get that. You're like DMT, Zach. You see, you said about people about don't take drugs and listen to me, Zach and What Army, the God Fractal. I'd suggest that you don't need the drugs. You do need to lie back though and listen to what's being said on that, and you really do. A work of sheer genius. Zach, I've said it before, and I know that I'll say it again. That contains DMT. The actual song itself contains DMT.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's also the possibility with these things. Like, there's lots of folk. There's this huge festival revolution thing that's happening in America and elsewhere, I'm sure. These massive music festivals. I mean, you could say that it begun with Woodstock, but really since the arrival of electronic music, it's been blowing up a lot bigger. Just these 20,000 plus people gathered for 4 days for music and a lot of psychedelics. Like that's a huge part of the culture. I mean, there's people there who aren't, but it's getting to the point now. I was at a festival, All Good, last year, and I had a whole existential breakdown at that one, and I came to the conclusion that I should never again pay to go to festivals and just be a participant. I can only go if it's for the purposes of carrying on the mission. But I was walking around there, and you could smell DMT being smoked. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, I was walking amongst crowds of people, and numerous times throughout the festival, like 40, I smell the fucking spirit molecule being smoked out in the open right here, you know? And it's just crazy because you know that there's people doing it for the purposes of pure recreation. You know, not everybody there is doing a shamanic thing. There was the night before, actually, I was one who always subscribed to the philosophy that one should not, something that powerful. Like, the first time I came across DMT, and it's been very few times that I have experienced it, I just remember thinking, like, wow, this is a portal. This is so much more than anything that I've ever experienced. This is a key. I remember when I had a little bit, it was given to me at a festival, and I took it home and did it once with a friend, and I immediately was like, hide this. Take this stuff and put it somewhere. Like, we need to. It was like Lord of the Rings. It was like, keep it secret, keep it safe. I was just so overwhelmed that this stuff exists, and oh my God, I know why this is so insanely illegal. You know, all around the world, this is the answer. This is this is like truth bottled and contained. It's amazing. I think that a person who doesn't even seek any kind of enlightenment or has no objective in the ways of expanding their mind could do DMT and just flip their universe around and just quit their corporate job and just take to the woods like that. I believe in what that does. Now, I do believe that it's it's in every experience, and it can be accessed through many different things, but DMT is the one. DMT and psilocybin are the one that I almost would go as far as to somewhat endorse, because I think that with mushrooms you're given like a 6-hour window of just pure fucking reality. Like, they say you hallucinate, but with mushrooms I don't see that at all. I see the trees moving and breathing as they scientifically are. I'm just able to perceive it now, and it would be overwhelming if to have the doors of perception wide open at all times would be overwhelming. Nobody would get anything done. There's an argument over the importance of quote unquote getting things done, but I think there is truth in these things. But anyway, I'm walking around and I'm smelling DMT in the air, and it's like back in the day you'd be at a concert and be like, somebody smoking some weed. Can I hit that, bro? Somebody's getting high over there. Hey man, my girlfriend, she's got some stomach problems. Can she hit your weed? Now it's like, no, somebody's spiraling through a multi-dimensional fucking fractal dimension hex. Somebody just is having a shamanic journey into the astrally projected real fucking thing that's occurring. Can I hit that, bro? Can I go through the dimension hex? Can I spin through the vortex of reality? It's like, it's fucking crazy what's happening. I don't even know what to say.
Zach, the first time that I did DMT, I took some hits on the pipe and then I closed my eyes and I went into this reality that is just as real, just as absolutely fucking solid as this one, but there was nothing in it that I recognized, not a single thing. And when I opened my eyes again, I was in this reality, and then I closed my eyes and I was in that reality, and there were two completely separate worlds. So this idea that you do go into a different dimension in drugs, that was something that seemed to confirm that to me. And another time was when I had a whole load of nice big psilocybin cubensis mushrooms, and then took a hit of nitrous on top. and it was a little bit surreal because it was like my head was in this box that was in a different reality. I could feel my body in the room. I could hear the things that were in the room as normal, but my head was in this different reality that was just kind of like a featureless box. It was very strange.
Man, nitrous is another thing like that. Like, nitrous to me, I thought for years and years was the most frivolous, dirty, hood rat drug. Like, I was like, this is a thing that just deprives your oxygen of brain. This is a thing that deprives your oxygen of brain, bro. And the only high you'll experience is the fact that you're not fucking breathing correctly and your lungs are filled with something that makes them think that they're breathing, but then your brain, you have a moment of, of like mental retardation, which, God, makes me very envious of I used to work at a group home with those who were on the severe spectrum of intellectual disability, and wow, if that's how they're feeling all day, then sign me up for that shit. But I tried nitrous once, and I was actually on LSD when I did it, and I was at my friend's house, and my God, that actually was one of the more philosophically profound things that I've ever done. Like, everything just, it was like when you said, Bob, about it's like you see the real and then the world reassembles itself. I've never had a more visceral experience of like, okay, this is oblivion, and now watch as your perception pieces itself back together and pixelates into something that your brain can translate, because you're not ready for the truth.
That's nitrous, Zach. That's nitrous. One of these days, you and I are going to have to sit down together and do nitrous together. I'm famous for it. In fact, I used to work in the clubs in London. We were raising money to take 10,000 human shields over to Palestine, and the way we were doing that was by selling nitrous at the clubs. And I used to sit down and do a lot of very deep Zen nitrous trips with people, where we sit there, breathe together, take this balloon in, and just hold eye contact, and it's the most amazing experience. It really is highly recommended.
It's deeply, deeply meditative. If you're holding eye contact with someone and you're both sort of, your reality's oozing in and out of whatever, you're both in this same mental state. It's amazing. And the nitrous trip actually leaves a hell of a lot quicker than you wish to break that eye contact, so you can extend it for as long as you can hold eye contact for, really. It's pretty amazing.
I never used to endorse that stuff. I used to think that it was so, like I said, I used to think it was just oxygen deprivation, and maybe to an extent it, what it really is, that what I perceive from nitrous is that was like a little dipping my foot into the pool of death. Like, I looked over at my friend and he was white and pale and his lips were turning blue, and I, then looked into myself and felt like, oh my God, this is like, I have no concept of that. Zach Winchester 3770 whatever the fuck, I can't remember my social security number. I'd share it with you though. I trust you. But I just had no concept of my own identity, and I was just like, this is oblivion is one word. The other word is everything. Like Bob, you said about how the reality may quite possibly be a nightmare. I've been really certain for a while that the situation is, and it's just my opinion, is that we are engaged in a 50-50 situation. And it's inescapable that it's 50-50. That's why, like, I had a repudiation of hippies for a while there. When I first came into this vessel, and I was like, starting to be a person and assemble my own identity, I went to the dark side of the spectrum really hard, and I was really into horrorcore type of things, and I was really all about things that involved extreme violence and the macabre and demonic shit and whatnot. I thought that's what cool was, and I think it was because my childhood was so good and beautiful that my pendulum wanted to swing in that direction for a while. Then I swung back and became like the just complete everything is love and light hippie, and I only listened to the Beatles and things of that nature. And then there was this massive repudiation of like everybody who is all about that love light shit. Like, you are only seeing 50% of the spectrum, and you're fooling yourself. Like, and it just became very clear to me that those who try to live their life entirely in light and surrounded by the rainbow, beautiful aura of the indigo light that shines from the center of the earth, which is a crystal, and it's so beautiful and everything is magical. Like, I guess that's a cool way to go about the simulation, but really, I think it's 50-50. I think that any attempt to swing the pendulum too far in either direction will result in there will be repercussions for that on the other side of the pendulum, and I really love it, and I understand, like, if there is a God type of thing, like if there actually was an external, which I don't even really consider the possibility of there being an outside higher intelligence other than ourselves. But let's say there was like a total, like, rainbow suspenders, massive pecs, bearded, Zeus-like dude in the sky who creates all of this. I see what he did there by making it 50-50. Like, I see what you did there, God. And it's pretty marvelous. It's pretty brilliant, because your entire life I think the best way to do it, to be happy too, like my advice to the love light hippies is that instead of just carrying on the charade that everything is love and light and beauty and whatnot, try to learn to love and appreciate the darkness. That's I've been dabbling in that recently, and it's quite nice to perceive it that I'm having a visceral, overwhelming feeling of sadness and or regret or fear right now. Wow, this is awesome! I am truly immersed in the simulation. I rather like that.
I am.
Zach, have you ever tried ketamine?
Twice, and the first was very mild. It was a very small, very small amount I did, and I was at a festival, and other things were happening, so I had no isolation. The only time I did it isolated, I had also been drinking a little bit that night. It was my birthday last year. Actually, I actually have a video of myself doing comedy that night, like at 20 seconds after this video that I shot. Like, I went outside and this guy's like, "Hey, do you want to do a massive bump of K?" And I was like, not usually, but yeah, let's go. And I hopped into the car, and he gave me that, and then I come back out and I sit down on this street, this sidewalk that's looking out on the street in this city called Hamtramck that is within the municipality of Detroit. It's like an outskirts place. It's known for being having its high Muslim population and whatnot. And it's not like the motherfucking ghetto, but there's parts of it that are pretty rough. And the place that I was at was fairly ghetto. And I just fucking, you just detach from anything that ever was an identity, and I just felt what death is. It was like shutting down. And I was trying to talk, and I was like overwhelmed with like, oh my God, I'm having an existential breakthrough. Like, this is crazy. This is amazing. This is nothing to fear. Death is nothing to fear. And I was trying to like verbally explain this to the people around me, because I kind of have a communication addiction. And I was trying to, like, I couldn't wait to tell everybody around that, like, oh my God, death is nothing to fear. And there's like these strangers around. I'm trying to tell it to them. I'm making eye contact with them. Like you said about the nitrous thing, it was like, oh my God, it was insane. Making like just looking right into the mirror with different facial hair. And this one's a girl. That's the weirdest thing on it. Gender is the weirdest fucking topic that exists because there is a difference there. There is like a thing going on with that whole fucking deal. But yeah, I just like, I had just no concept of like the fear of where I was and how vulnerable I was. I was so vulnerable in that moment. And I just fucking, I felt like an overwhelming love for everybody too in that time because I just like really could see like, wow, we're all just a bunch of little biological subatomic particles whizzing around and shit. And holy, how crazy is it that we've found ourselves in a place where we've formed our own identities and we love each other. You know, it was awesome, but I could not speak. I was the most pathetic I've ever looked in my entire life. That's my only thing against ketamine is that there's people who do it in public. I would never do that in public again.
When you mix it with alcohol, yeah, you become a gibbering, drooling wreck. Vosto's just said in IRC chat, lol, horse anesthetics. And this is the thing, as soon as you say ketamine, everyone says horse tranquilizer. But what they don't take into account is that it is also the most acceptable form of anesthesia used with children, of all things, because it's so safe. And also paramedics carry around liquid ket because if you're in an accident and they need to give you some pain relief, then they'll use ketamine because they know, first of all, it disappears out of the system pretty quickly, and secondly, it's clean and it doesn't interact with anything else that they might have to give you once they get you back to a hospital. So, but I would say again that it's not a party drug; it's another shamanic drug because it's a dissociative.
No, I dispute that definitely. I wouldn't say ketamine's a shamanic drug at all. I mean, all the shamanic drugs, as far as I know, are all derivative from plants, directly from plants, or fungus, or naturally occurring things on the planet. As if Zach touched on it before. I mean, either nature or what were the trans-dimensional beings put these here, or you know, I can go with that. But when we come to pharmaceutically produced, I'm not sure. I don't know if I can go down that line at all. I wouldn't go for the nitrous neither. I really wouldn't. That's just me personally. I mean, I'd like to. I've tried cocaine, and I've also tried crack cocaine, free-based cocaine. Really, the only really cocaine, I could see why I did that. Because I wanted to chew the leaf. I think that's the way it should be done, you know, how it was done then, rather than the processed, all this processing. I don't know, it just doesn't suit with me. But of course now my advice is, for what it's worth, is do it naturally. You don't need anything to actually achieve this. In fact, I would agree that in a lot of cases, well, in most cases, I know in my own, it does take you some time to be able to justify yourself in the moment. That becomes quite pretty obvious for most people who get into psychotropic drugs, which which aren't naturally based. They have difficulty in being themselves. Now, when you look at that on a whole across society, you're like, shit, that's the majority of people. Yeah. I think the reality we're in is actually created from the reality you're speaking of. The ones that you're actually accessing quite uniquely through using drugs. I think the reality we're in now, the one we're sharing and using over the internet, is actually created from there, not from here. I think Zach's right. There is more than one reality. It looks like it's a polarity. I applaud you for that, Zach, because next to that is the singularity. Right next to the polarity is the singularity, also known as the source, the Grail, you know, the Ark, whatever you want to call it. You know, it's been called many things. So yeah, I wouldn't dispute what people are actually saying and what they're looking from it. But from my perspective, there is no light or dark. There really isn't. There is no longer a nightmare, nor is there a dream. One is an illusion, the other is a delusion. One eludes the other as the other is deluded, and so forth, over and over again. We make massive breakthroughs on a daily basis and then revert back to the same program as we started from the day before. I think we're consciously, we're all beginning to become aware of ourselves and who we are. That is beyond anything that we could collectively even begin to imagine. It's massive. Again, I get there's nothing to fear. I get that. I really do. Although it's scary. It's really weird. The actual feeling of scary becomes something like you go, alright, so that's just something that is scared. When you learn, or I've learned, not to possess the emotion as I experience it. When if I have what we call, I don't know what's the term we're going to use, an event, an illumination, a DMT experience, when that occurs, I'm part of the totality of that experience. It's not happening to me. I'm there and I'm part of it, but yeah, it's not. I can observe it. At the same time, I can feel the emotions of the situation and the place and the smells and the touch. Now, Price made a point about opening and closing his eyes into another world. I know exactly what you mean. That is one world and the other world, exactly. But I would suggest that just between the two is the reality we actually seek. That would be the singularity or source. Now, when many of us have experienced such thing, and then you're kind of aware of the warm glow, and it's like being warmed by a fire. That's the best explanation I could give it. Of course, it's unique for everyone. But that is the after. That is after the event. For me, the event is a spark. It literally is a spark. That spark enters free space, empty space. It can't go where there is something. So if there is something held in that space, it can't enter that space. And then I can see that, wow, they'll never experience it. They'll never, ever experience what we're speaking of. Regardless of how many drugs they take, doesn't matter. They'll never experience it, ever. Not with that mindset.
You're always wrong when you're making a generalization, Magical Turtles.
Yeah.
Made a generalization was always wrong.
It's not actually a generalization, Zach. You said it yourself. Oh, well, I suppose it is a generalization. You said they were taking DMT and they didn't even realize, they didn't know, they were using it just sociably, they were using it to kick back and have fun, and they didn't get it. No, it doesn't. They were all on the shamanic journey, Zach. It's just you know that's what they were doing. They don't. To them, it's a drug. It's a way to kick back, But to some of us, it really is a way to open doors beyond our imagination. And to me, in those realms, lie all the solutions to all the problems we've perceived in the illusion or delusions that we have lived so far.
The mission lately, when I'm at these festivals, what I get overwhelmed with, what caused my existential breakdown at that one, when I was saying where I smelt the DMT in the air, is that why isn't there a galvanizing voice? Not necessarily mine, but I'm coming closer and closer to the realization that if one is in the position to help, one has the responsibility to help. And recently I saw a thing by Alan Watts saying, you stop trying to save the world, stop trying to change the world, on something about that. You don't need to. You're already doing it. And I do believe that. But at the same time, I'm accepting more and more that there are some of us who are, by automatic impulse, are pushing things forward. And I do kind of believe that. I've always, if I hear the Braveheart theme, I immediately think, like, if you have the ability to help, you also have the responsibility, like the Spider-Man thing, with great power comes great responsibility. And my God, I just think, like, well, those kids, if they're doing DMT frivolously and their doors are wide open like that, what if a voice came on through those massive speakers right now and just galvanized and directed their thought process to something that I don't think they could ever come back from? And I mean that in a good way.
I think it's already happened, Zach. I think that's exactly what does happen. You see, you're aware of it, and that does galvanise the thought process. The thought becomes the voice. And there is a voice. We can all hear it if we take the time out to listen. I mean, without possession, you're listening to a voice. With possession, you're listening to someone outside your head or inside your head, or you're making it up, or you with me? So yeah, I think that does occur. I think that's exactly what happens. People do gather together for all sorts of different reasons. A shamanic, tribal event takes place, and more people are becoming more and more aware of it. The more they're aware of the event, and the more prepared they are in the horizon to the event, and the events go smoother and smoother. But each time it happens, there is a tribal gathering. There is a greater knowledge every time, more and more. Every time there are more that actually are aware that is what is truly going on. What I call between the illusion and the delusion. The Hopi Indians have described it. There's many ways. It's not real. We were divided. We've been separated. We can't really be divided. That's the illusion and the delusion. That can't really occur. We can experience it, but it's not real. It's just a feeling. It's just an emotion. That's all it is. And when you're actually manipulated with those emotions, when those feelings have took over completely, that's pretty big. That's all it is. It's a feeling. It's an emotion. It's a projected energy coming from an individual. It's being focused on a certain point. You think of something, and for you, it's real.
I'd like to speak on an emotion you mentioned earlier before we have to end here. You mentioned fear, and that it gets scary sometimes. In defense of sobriety, in defense of seeking enlightenment, with a staunch policy against using the cheat codes, because everyone feels better about beating the game without cheat codes. Of course, you should. Grand Theft Auto 4 is a game that is beloved in the U.S. of A. And those who, achieved 100% completion without using a single cheat code, bravo to you, and I'm sure you feel very proud yourself. Myself, I use cheat codes. I like the flying cars. I like the being impervious to gunfire. I like being able to have all of the best weapons and unlimited ammo. I like being able to make the wanted stars disappear so that the FBI stop chasing me when I'm just trying to have a good old-fashioned day, murdering the innocents on the streets. I'm talking about a video game now. Back to the analogy that I'm trying to make as it pertains to life. I made from that here is it happened so intense about our product that actually kidnap you. They're so they're right. They do that. Like they actually those artists to take you to a fucking box and keep you there against your will. That's how dedicated they are to art. I went into a lot of things about war and reptilian Illuminati stuff was mentioned. And when I walked off stage, I thought, wow, like, am I going to get black bagged right now? Like, I went in on some stuff. Obviously this was my like psychedelic paranoia. The thing is, and I won't completely attribute it to psychedelic use. When I'm in my sober state, like right now, from what I've come to understand and or just hallucinate, what I think, what I perceive in my waking usual state, I do not fear death. I fear only imprisonment. I fear only having my freedom taken away. Whether it's my body being put in a cell for an amount of time, or whether it's just something impinging upon my ability to do as I wish with my only chance to be alive. That is all I fear. I do not fear death. I almost look forward to it. I just know that while you're here, you should do as much with what you have. So, in defense of being sober, I am not afraid when my doors of perception are not shut, but the gap is a little bit smaller. This has been lovely. I think we should continue this conversation next week. It's springtime, so it's psychedelic season for those of you who dabble, and I think it's important for us to verbalize what's going on with these molecules and things. Like I said, I think they're just cheat codes, but I love cheat codes. I like the flying cars, and I like having DK mode in GoldenEye when everyone has a large head. I love you all, magical turtles. Goodbye.
Yeah, if I could just make a quick remark. I finished that, or didn't finish it, but I heard some of that encounter with the cop, and I don't quite know how to say it, and I don't know if it was heartwarming to see, but I know it's the opposite of disheartening, and how much I appreciate that cop video. And I'd like to also thank you, Paul, because I have lived for such a long time, just trying, numbing everything out. And I don't know about today, but I've just been able to alleviate that a bit for today. And in Pal Talk, you were very precise. And yeah, I'd just like to thank you guys for what you're doing. It's heartwarming to see.
Mika, it's wonderful to have you tune into the radio. It's always wonderful to have everybody tuning into the show. Another wonderful show from Zach, and we've had a good evening all together. Now you've discovered us, Mika, you'll find there's lots and lots of programs, and even during the day now, we're repeating some of the programs we've already done.
Babe. We don't program
we don't program people.
We show people stuff.
So we do.
Using my activation.